If people were completely blank on this and new to where would you send them in terms of a website to find out more information and to go deeper into the history of the fair trade movement?
Well, our own website, chicagofairtrade.org, of course, has the resolution there. It has where you can contact your own alderman if you want to encourage your alderman to serve fair trade products. It will link you with the Fair Trade Towns movement. That's fairtradetownsusa.org. And there are, about 13 fair trade towns declared in the U.S. now. Mm-hmm. So this is still a pretty baby movement in the U.S., but you have the whole range from, a Burlington, Vermont, it's a pretty small town, to San Francisco, which we look at and have been in touch with their Department of Environment as probably the closest in size. Where's the city that can inform Chicago on how to do this? So they're the biggest. Milwaukee is also our closest fair trade town, probably.
Good for Milwaukee.
Our website,
I didn't realize.
Our website can direct you to stories about producers, how the lives of producers are impacted by fair trade, and I think also provide you with events that are happening around the city. It also has a mapping, a locate button. If you want to say, so where can I get fair trade in my neighborhood? You can go on, put in your zip code. If you don't find any, that's when you want to start talking to those stores and restaurants and cafes in your neighborhood and say, I want to be on this map and make sure that my part of the city is offering people an option of supporting fair trade.
Yeah, and as a store owner, it took us a while to actually have regular suppliers and steady suppliers. We've been in business a long time, and fair trade came along after we were around for about a decade. But we knew about it, and we were trying to get online and be serving only fair trade. So all our coffee is fair trade now, and a lot of the items in the general store are fair trade, follow the rules of fair trade. In other words, environment is protected. People make money. The people who are on the ground in Guatemala or Mexico sewing those things are the people who get the money, not the in-between guy who brings them up here, that sort of thing. Right. And that is not something that's easy to pin down for storekeepers, and you do need the help of an organization like Chicago Fair Trade to lead you in the direction of, yep, we have validly certified these people are practicing fair trade principles, and that's really important. So the work you're doing is really important. Let me just ask one last question, which may or may not fit, but there's also this movement called transition towns, which also started in the UK, and Rogers Park is trying to be a transition town neighborhood. And one of their features, one of their beliefs is the whole buy local thing. Does this fight with, or in any way contradict what you're trying to work with Chicago Fair Trade?
Well, I think this has been discussed actually on the national movement, and most of us really believe that the local global can be combined. I mean, we're concerned about sustainability, both of us certainly, and so that we certainly ally ourselves with different events that are buy local, and there are a lot of things you can buy local.
Right.
If any of you have read Barbara Kingsolver's book where she talks about living for a year of buying locally, even Barbara decided she'd have one exemption per family member. Each of them in her family could choose one product that is not grown locally.
Right.
That would be coffee, chocolate, teas. So
some citrus.
Yes.
Yes.
So the majority of fair trade products actually are things we cannot buy locally.
Right.
Especially in the food category.
Right,
We're not growing bananas here in Chicago. We could decide we're not going to. We could eliminate those products from our diet to be really true to the local. We're not going to have that transportation.
Yeah, but even those 100-mile diet people couldn't stick without the bananas and without the oranges.
So there are probably some of the questions about that. So the areas that are, the things that are not grown locally, of course, crafts items, handwork. Yes, I can get a knitted hat that's made in the U.S. You know, I could knit it myself.
It's really hard for you to get a knitted hat made in the U.S. You get a knitted hat made in China.
Well, you see, that's the challenge, I think.
Yes.
So if you're going to be importing, what you want is to have those things assured that you're not exploiting people.
Right.
So the tension here, I think, has been, and this is a new thing, and I can't speak about it in a very expert way because it's new, and I haven't had much of a conversation with Transfair about this. Transfair USA is the certifier of commodities, meaning all the things that, you know, coffee, tea, sugar, the things that are very uniform. Craft items are much more difficult. There's not a certification process for those. Importers become members of the Fair Trade Federation to show the transparency of their business model and to say, I'm not exploiting people in this. But what's interesting is if you go to Transfair USA website now, they're going to start certifying clothing. And I'm talking about mass-produced kinds of clothing.
Wow.
So I just saw that they're going to start certifying underwear made in India.
Okay.
So, you know, I don't know very much about that. I just heard about this, but I thought what this is about is what you go back to. The kinds of things that now have been sourced out for years in the interest of, you know, flight of capital from paying our own U.S. workers a fair wage. So that capital has flown to other places. Now, are we going to exploit those people or not? Well, there has been some exploitation. So actually, I think this move to certify some of those kinds of products is to reel in that reality that is out of our control now because, you know, they're not U.S. union workers that are negotiating for a wage. So that's some of where I think the movement is headed. So, you know, the direct answer is I think the local global is compatible. But
That's a great answer.
Everyone has to look at, I mean,
their impact.
Their own impact, and you're weighing all the time. What is the best choice? And I think what we're trying to do in the fair trade movement, everything is not going to be certified fair trade. We're hoping to develop a whole notion of being a conscious consumer so that people ask, who's behind who
am I
this?
supporting? Who am I not supporting when I buy this?
And so I think if we can achieve that, then people make their own choices on how to live, and we're hoping that they make the best choices possible in terms of sustaining the planet.
Well, nice work, Nancy. Very nice work. And I think that people should look to chicagofairtrade.org to find out more about the really good organizing you've done to get as far as you have, which is this most recent passage of a resolution in City Council. But as you just said, and I like the way our conversation was going to the broader issues of, you know, both consumerism and choices and, you know, to what extent, I think sooner or later in this recession time, people are clearly making more choices and thinking more about how they spend their money than they used to. And to get this into that conversation and into the many things they take under consideration when making choices about spending money is probably right there and open and available to us now in a way it never was. So thanks for making it that way.
Okay.
And thanks for all your good work, and thanks for being here this morning, Nancy
You're
Jones
welcome, Katy.
from Chicago Fair Trade. ChicagoFairTrade.org and FairTradeTownsUSA.org, both sites that you can go to for more information. And I'd like to have somebody here before the World Fair Trade Day.
Excellent.
Sometime in April to remind people it's coming up. Maybe we could have Suzanne come in here because
would be so great.
She's our close neighbor. Okay, let's hear it for Chicago Fair Trade and Nancy Jones. And thank you so much for your time this morning.